Hello. I won't ask you how your day was. If you're here, it probably had plenty to say already. You don't need to agree with me. You don't need to believe anything in particular. You don't even need to stay for the whole conversation. Just sit for a moment. We live in a time that treats quiet like a problem to be solved. If there's a pause, we rush to fill it. If there's uncertainty, we label it. If there's stillness, we assume something must be wrong. But stillness isn't silence. Silence is empty. Stillness is attentive. Stillness is what happens when we stop rehearsing our response long enough to notice where we are. When we let a thought arrive without interrogating it. When we stop measuring ourselves by how quickly we react. If faith enters this space at all, it doesn't arrive with answers. It arrives as presence. And presence doesn't rush. So if your mind wanders while you're listening, that's all right. If you feel the urge to check something else, you don't need to resist it. Just notice the moment you almost leave. Sometimes that's where the quiet begins. There is a particular kind of pressure in the air lately. It doesn't shout, it hums. The pressure to react, to respond quickly, to signal where you stand before you've even had time to notice how you feel. We are asked for opinions the way we were once asked for our names. Immediately, publicly, without hesitation. And if we don't answer fast enough, the silence begins to feel suspicious, as though stillness must mean agreement, or apathy, or ignorance. There is an anxiety that comes from not having a take, not having the right phrasing, not knowing which sentence will place you safely inside the circle. It can feel dangerous to say, I don't know yet, or worse, I am still listening. We have confused stillness with disengagement. We have confused quiet with weakness. But sometimes what looks like distance is actually care. Sometimes the most honest position is one that hasn't fully arrived yet. You may have felt this, that moment when something happens in the world. And before you've even processed it, you feel the weight of expectation. What do you think? Where do you stand? Why aren't you saying anything? And beneath all of it, a smaller question. If I don't respond, do I disappear? That is a heavy thing to carry, especially when what you're trying to protect is not your reputation, but your integrity. We have mistaken stillness for weakness. We have been taught that if we are not speaking, we must be shrinking, that if we are not reacting, we must be retreating. But stillness is not withdrawal. It is attention. It is what happens when you decide that a moment deserves more than your first reaction. There is courage in resisting the urgency of the crowd. There is dignity in letting a thought ripen before you offer it. We have grown accustomed to speed. We trust what is immediate. But what is immediate is not always what is true. Stillness is a refusal to be hurried into someone else's certainty. It is the willingness to sit inside complexity without demanding that it resolve itself instantly. And that is not disengagement. That is care. Sometimes the most faithful response is not a statement. It is listening long enough to understand what is actually being asked. Stillness is a choice, a deliberate one. You are not disappearing when you pause. You are discerning. There is a way we have learned to speak about God that sounds like a solution manual. Ask correctly, believe correctly, receive correctly. But what if that was never the invitation? What if God is not an answer to be delivered, but a presence to be noticed? Not a voice that interrupts the silence, but the quiet that holds it. We have treated prayer like a request form, as if heaven were a service desk waiting for properly formatted petitions. But prayer, at its deepest, is not asking. It is listening, not straining to hear something new, just allowing what is already here to be felt. There is a kind of faith that wants certainty, clear edges, immediate reassurance, a statement that closes the question. And then there is another kind, the kind that can sit in mystery without panicking, the kind that can say, I do not understand this yet, and still remain. Faith, perhaps, is not the removal of uncertainty. It is the patience to stay present with it, not shrinking, not reacting, not performing belief, simply staying. If God is anything like love, then God does not rush. Love does not demand immediate clarity. It does not insist you have the right words. It waits. It accompanies. It remains. And maybe that is enough, just to remain. Before you go, just one thing. Tonight, when the room gets quiet, when there is that small space where you could reach for something to fill it, what would happen if you didn't? What might surface if you let the silence remain unedited? Would you disappear? Or would something steadier arrive? You don't have to answer now. Just notice and let the quiet stay a little longer than usual.